Telluride, the mountain town in Colorado known for its mining history and rugged landscape. But it's also the name of an extremely popular Kia SUV. And they've just revealed the new generation of this vehicle. So in this video, we're going to have a look at the brand new design, some of the key details, which are still light at the moment, and compare it to some of its competitors as well as its predecessor too. As is the case with most modern cars, it's grown again by 2.3 inches and the wheelbase has been stretched by 2.7 inches. So it's a massive vehicle, but given that it's very North American centric and that's what the market wants, it makes sense that it continues to grow in size. The design has been refreshed with Kia's new opposites united philosophies. So it blends what it calls rugged strength with elegance, but we'll have a look to see whether that's actually the case. But it is an evolution of the previous design. So what I do like about this new generation is that it hasn't completely thrown out the old design, which we have seen a lot of the times from Kia and Hyundai. They generally seem to want to completely redesign the vehicle every single generation and not hark back to the past at all, which is nice when they used to have maybe designs that weren't quite as desirable by people and didn't have as much of a connection. But these last few generations, I feel like they've come up with some nicer designs. So it's nice to see that they've taken some of the elements that worked with the previous generation and have just updated them for the new generation. We don't know too much about the powertrains yet, but there might be a plug-in hybrid or just a hybrid option similar to the Hyundai Palisade on the same platform. And then inside, there's been numerous improvements. So we've got new tech, new cabin materials. There's also an off-road ready variant called the X Pro, which provides a bit more differentiation within the segment. And super important vehicle for Kia. So it's the second highest selling SUV in their range in the States after the compact, or not so compact these days, Kia Sportage. Okay, let's have a look at the exterior design. There've been some changes here to the front end in terms of making it a little bit more blunt. If you compare to the previous generation, it was a lot more rounded off, more traditional modern design, whereas this is a little bit more dramatic in the way that it's been treated at the front here. The target grille is now full length, connecting the headlights. We now see the headlamps actually trailing downwards into the front bumper. Makes it look a little bit lower, a little bit sportier. But overall, I assume the intention from Kia is to make this a little bit more in your face and intimidating. The front grille here is also a pretty interesting design. It's not your traditional finish that you've got here, but it's a little more flatter. It's a bit filled in some aspects. Potentially these are design features, but they could also be aerodynamic features as well. And yeah, just a very kind of squared off design that is in sharp contrast to the previous generation. Although the overall design was still very blocky in the previous generation, but it's definitely been taken to the next level here. And then you can really see here from the front on view how squared off this is. If you saw this in your rear view mirror, you would definitely see it coming. It's extremely intimidating. Looks a little bit more like a truck. So your Ford F-150, your Chevrolet Silverados, it really looks like they're trying to make it look like a very kind of masculine vehicle. But overall, I think the front end, it's grown on me a little bit. The first time I saw it, I thought, I'm not sure about this, but I think it does look quite good here. I do feel that though, I believe this might be the X Pro model, I don't like this finish as much, especially this blacked out Kia logo. It's a trend to have this blacked out to make it look a little more subtle, maybe, but to me, what it looks like, it seems like the Kia badge has just fallen off completely. I don't know. I think you want to be loud and proud as a brand and have your logo stand out from the grill. So this wouldn't be my favorite finish, but if you want to go for the X Pro model, then this is probably the way to go for you. Let's have a look at the side profile now. So here, this is definitely a big contrast to the previous models. It's a very traditional SUV design. You've got your solid door handles, just a more kind of rounded off look, even though this was fairly squared off for an SUV these days. Here, it's very much, you can see the squared off profile and extremely smooth here. Minimal lines being used. There's some surfacing here, so you've got this line going downwards and upwards, and then disappears completely, and then that surface comes back here towards the rear end. But it's definitely a lot more aerodynamic, perhaps even inspired by the Kia EV9, and some would say even the current Range Rover. But I think Range Rover has inspired so many vehicles, you can't just call out Kia for doing that, but they've definitely taken some inspiration there, and why not? It's probably one of the best looking vehicles in the SUV category. The wheels here are a little bit interesting as well. So they've got that squared off hub as well, which I think again is similar to the EV9. It's not my favorite wheel. For some reason, it looks a bit tacky in my view. It seems like Kia are trying to do something different with this opposites united design language, just trying to play around with having contrasts with different features put together. And I think the wheel exemplifies this as well. So not for everyone, but at least they're trying to stand out here. But I really do like the side profile overall. It's just very confident, clean, and they haven't overdone it, which Kia can sometimes be accused of doing, overstyling their cars. But I think they've rightfully pared back the design here. They've got some interesting features in the wheel arches too. The wheel arch has this little notch here. Not too sure if there's any functional reason for it, but I believe it's purely just for a design purpose, which is cool. Moving on to the rear end, this is probably where that influence of Range Rover is most prominent. So this tail lamp here is very much in the Range Rover design, that very slim profile, vertical layout. You've got the big Telluride lettering across the back here. But I do like how they've treated this. They've tried to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. The previous generation rear, it's a bit more pared back. They've still tried to have that dual light signature, but they've just taken the basic elements of it, and rather than creating a similar shape, they've tried to modernize the shape. Whether you like it, you hate it, I think you've got to applaud that they've tried to change a few things up here, even if it is harking back to the previous design. As I said, when I initially saw it, I wasn't too sure about it, but now looking at it a little bit more, I think the fact that they've tried to push the boundaries a little bit will mean that it will age a little bit better when this is on sale for the next, let's say, 5 to 6 years. Thumbs up for me on the exterior design. Moving on to the interior here, this looks very much like Kia's recent SUVs. So EV9, the EV5, the EV3, they all have this very similar layout now. I think they've got some nice materials here. So this is a carbon-esque finish, that new Kia steering wheel design with the logo off center and then those dual screens. I think the interior, they've taken less risks here. We'll have to see how the materials are when there's some hands-on reviews of the vehicle. The thing with Hyundai and Kia, I know from experience owning a Hyundai myself, that on the surface, the interiors can often look quite nice, but when you actually use the car for a little bit, the interior seems to be affected by wear and tear quite easily. So it doesn't really hold up to the test of time. I would have liked to see a little more color piped in here, but at least there's some different finishes. So you've got this more tanned leather finish here, which is a little bit more interesting to look at. But I think they've generally played it safe. When you compare it to the exterior, they haven't tried too many interesting things here. If you look at the previous interior though, for me, this was actually one of their best interiors for the time. I actually think this looks a little bit brighter, and generally there's more variety in materials. So you've got these lighter aluminium-esque finishes here. You've got a lighter wood grain-esque finish, and you've got that tan leather in contrast. I prefer the look of this steering wheel as well. They've got these 3 vents, which you don't see too often. Usually it's 2 center vents in the middle. And the way they've integrated the screen, it doesn't just look like it's tacked on as much. They've actually tried to design the radiuses of the screen or the housing of the screen so it looks a little bit more integrated. Whereas here, it looks a little bit more tacked on. We'll have to see if the materials are any better, but I actually think design-wise, the previous generation probably has it covered. Okay, so that's the exterior and interior. Let's have a look at some other cars now that maybe it's similar to. So the Range Rover definitely has inspired so many different vehicles over the years. They've just been a pioneer in SUV design. And I think this is no different. There's definitely some inspiration, especially in the side profile we can see here between the Range Rover and the Kia. I think Range Rover went the extra level by being able to remove any of window detailing and being able to curve this part of the door instead to provide that sealant, which a couple of new cars have started to copy as well. I think it's probably quite expensive, so Kia haven't tried to copy that element. But the basic kind of shape, the flat surfacing is, you can definitely see that inspiration here. And finally, I wanted to contrast with the Hyundai Palisade. So it's stablemate. This is also a fantastic looking car, a huge improvement on the previous generation. And the one thing I love about Kia and Hyundai is, despite sharing the same platform for a number of different vehicles, it doesn't look like that they're just badge engineering the cars. They do look like completely different vehicles. And although you can see a Range Rover influence in this vehicle too, the way they've approached it is completely different. This has definitely got a little bit more of a classic luxury Grand Tourer feel to it, whereas with Kia, it's more of that rugged, tough, in-your-face look. So they've smartly segmented their customer base, saying if you want that rugged look, that really tough off-road experience, buy the Kia. If you want a little bit more luxury and comfort, then buy the Hyundai. It's been maybe 15 years now since Kia first had Peter Schreier onboarded as the head of design, and then he eventually became the head of design for the Hyundai Group. And since then, they've gone from strength to strength. They've got a lot of hits, but misses as well, which happens when you take a few design risks. But I do love generally what they've been doing, and they have been hitting the mark more often than not. So that's the brand new Kia Telluride. Do you think they've been successful with the redesign? Are you in the market to buy one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to subscribe for more content like this. See you later.